So 1947. It was a year of two completely opposite stories happening at the exact same time. On one hand, you have this absolute tragedy of division that would leave a permanent scar on an entire subcontinent. And on the other, you have this miracle of unification that would build a brand new nation. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into this incredible tale of lines and lives, the partition of India.
The whole thing starts with a premise that's, well, it's almost unbelievable. I want you to picture a man, an English lawyer named Sir Cyril Radcliffe. He's in a hot room in Delhi. He's got some population charts, a few outdated maps, and a pencil. And with that pencil, he's about to draw a line that will force 20 million people from their homes and, lead to the deaths of hundreds of thousands. But here's the craziest part. He'd never even been to India before. He knew nothing about the people, the culture, the rivers, the fields, and he was chosen for that exact reason, because his ignorance was supposed to make him neutral.
And that is the huge question we're tackling today. How did this one single line, drawn by someone who didn't know the land, manage to uproot 20 million people in one of history's greatest tragedies? And how did, at the very same moment, this massive effort to stitch together a nation from over 500 different kingdoms even work? It's this wild story of total chaos and incredible creation happening side by side.
All right, let's start with the line itself. Our first section is all about the impossible job given to Sir Cyril Radcliffe, the man tasked with dividing a subcontinent he'd never even seen.
Okay, look at this timeline. This is where it gets crazy. Radcliffe shows up in India on July 8th. He has to turn in the final maps by August 13th. That is barely a month to decide the fate of millions of people across two huge provinces, Punjab and Bengal. The British were just in a mad dash to get out. They basically saw the country as a ship on fire and just wanted off. And that rush, well, it led to catastrophe. To make it even worse, the final border was kept a secret until 2 whole days after Independence Day, leaving millions of people in the state of absolute terror, not knowing which country they were about to wake up in.
And to see just how impossible his job was, you just have to look at a city like Lahore. This table really lays out the whole dilemma. If you just look at the population, you'd think, okay, Muslims are the biggest group, it should probably go to Pakistan. Simple, right? But no. Economically, the city was run by Hindus and Sikhs. They controlled pretty much all the industry and the businesses. So Radcliffe actually thought about giving Lahore to India. But then he decided that Pakistan needed at least one major city. In the end, it went to Pakistan, and that decision, well, it's still felt today.
And if Lahore was a puzzle, Gurdaspur, well, that was a whole other can of worms. This was a Muslim-majority area, so based on the logic of partition, it should have gone to Pakistan, no question. But Radcliffe gave it to India. Why? It was all about strategy. Without Gurdaspur, India would have had no real land route to the massive princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. This one decision basically laid the groundwork for a conflict that's still going on, and Pakistan was, understandably, furious. They saw it as a deliberate cheat to give India a path to Kashmir.
So we've seen the line on the map. Now let's look at the human cost, how that line became an absolute catastrophe. Our next section focuses on the tragedy that tore Punjab apart.
Just try to wrap your head around that number. 20 million people. 2 crows. The Radcliffe Line stranded about 5 million Sikhs and Hindus on the Pakistan side of Punjab and another 5 million plus Muslims on the Indian side. And all of them, were forced to just abandon their homes, their farms, their entire lives, and start walking to a new country that was basically a foreign land to them. It was, and still is, the single largest forced migration in all of human history.
I want you to picture this. Convoys of desperate people just stretching for 50 miles. Old people in bullock carts, kids being carried on shoulders, everyone clutching whatever little they could save. Now, to control this chaos, they set up something called the Punjab Boundary Force, 55,000 soldiers. But really, what are 55,000 soldiers going to do against 20 million terrified, grieving people? It was nowhere near enough.
But maybe the most terrifying symbol of the sheer horror were these things called ghost trains. You'd have these trains packed with refugees, and they'd be attacked mid-journey. Everyone on board, massacred. They would just pull into the station in total, eerie silence. And sometimes, you'd find these chilling messages scrawled on the side, like this one, calling it a gift. It's just horrific. And this was happening on both sides of the border, scarring everyone.
Okay, so while all of this horror is happening in Punjab, something totally different was unfolding in Bengal. Let's shift gears and look at what they called the Miracle of Calcutta and how one man fought for peace.
You see, the British were terrified that Calcutta, with its history of riots and its packed slums, would be even worse than Punjab. But they had no troops to send. So the viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, basically made a desperate plea to Mahatma Gandhi, asking him to go there and do what an army couldn't. This quote is what he famously said to him, which just shows you the kind of moral power Gandhi had.
So what did Gandhi do? His method was just extraordinary. First, he does the unthinkable. He moves in with H.S. Suhrawardy, a man whom many Hindus called the Butcher of Calcutta for his role in earlier riots. For 16 days, it actually worked. But then, violence broke out. So Gandhi declared a fast unto death. He would not eat until the killing stopped. And then, the miracle happened. After 73 hours, the city's conscience just broke. Gang leaders, tough guys with weapons, came to him, crying, confessing, and they literally laid their weapons down at his feet. This one frail man did what 55,000 soldiers in Punjab couldn't.
All right, so while this tragedy of division is happening, there's another epic story playing out in parallel, the unification of India. This part is all about the insane race to bring 565 princely states into the new country. So when the British packed up and left, they left behind this huge problem. 565 of them, to be exact. These were basically independent kingdoms run by Maharajas and Nawabs, and they were told, hey, you're free. You can join India, you can join Pakistan, or you can just become your own country. Can you imagine? If they all chose independence, the map of India would look like Swiss cheese, just riddled with holes. It was a genuine threat to the very idea of India.
So, how on earth did they pull it off? Well, this was the playbook. The whole operation was the brainchild of Sardar Patel, the Iron Man of India, and this brilliant civil servant, V.P. Menon. Their first move was genius. They convinced Mountbatten to stay on as Governor General so he could use his royal cred to charm the princes. And the deal they offered was pretty sweet. Join India and you can keep your fancy titles, your palaces, and you'll get a nice allowance from the government. It was a mix of charm, deals, and, let's be honest, a little bit of intimidation. I mean, the young king of Jodhpur literally pulled a pistol on V.P. Menon just after signing. And then you have the Nawab of Junagadh, a guy famous for loving his dogs, who tried to join Pakistan but then just bolted to Karachi with his pets as soon as the Indian army showed up. It was just incredible drama.
But out of all 565 of those states, there was one that would become the most painful, the most complicated legacy of this whole period. Let's get to our final section, Kashmir, the unfinished story.
And really, to get why Kashmir is so complicated, you just have to look at it next to another state, Junagadh. As you can see here, they were perfect mirror images of each other. Junagadh had a Muslim ruler over a Hindu majority. Kashmir had a Hindu ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, over a Muslim majority. But here's the key difference. Junagadh was completely surrounded by India. Kashmir, on the other hand, bordered both India and Pakistan, and its ruler was dreaming of being independent. This unique setup made it a powder keg from day one.
And boy, did things escalate quickly. You can see the sequence of events here. First, tribesmen backed by Pakistan invade Kashmir. The Maharaja's army just crumbles, so he sends a desperate message to India for help. India says, okay, but you have to officially join us. He signs the paper, and literally the next morning, Indian troops are being flown into Srinagar. And here's a crazy twist of fate. The invaders could have taken the airport easily, but they got distracted, looting the town of Baramulla. That delay gave the Indian army just enough time to land and save the capital. The war that followed was eventually stopped by a UN ceasefire, which created the line of control that still divides Kashmir today.
You know, this quote really nails the central paradox of 1947. It was a year of just unimaginable tragedy, but it was also a year of this incredible, almost unbelievable achievement of building a nation. These two totally opposite things, a tragedy and a miracle, were shaping a country at the exact same moment.
And that leaves us with this one big, complicated question, which is really the legacy of 1947. Partition was a tragedy, integration was a miracle. How does a nation live with both of those things at once? It's a dual identity that the subcontinent is still grappling with today, a story born from a line on a map that remade millions of lives, and a story of hundreds of pieces being forged into one. Something to think about.